Hello everyone, welcome back to Decades. London is a city, if you didn't know, filled with iconic buildings, monuments and places. However, over the past 2 centuries, one has stood tall above all, as perhaps the city's most recognisable landmark. Before we get into this, close your eyes and picture the first landmark in London that you can think of. There'll be some who think they're clever by listing the London Eye, perhaps Trafalgar Square, maybe the Tower of London, or even at a push, Tower Bridge. Or perhaps something more modern, like the Shard, the tallest building in the United Kingdom. The image that is most famous has to be this fancy neo-Gothic styled clock tower, affectionately and perhaps both correctly and incorrectly known as Big Ben. I say this because what you're looking at right now is not actually Big Ben. If you know, you know, but if you are confused, all will become clear. The tower is now known as Elizabeth Tower, following the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II in 2012. Perhaps ranks amongst the most famous landmarks on the planet. So, first and foremost, how did it come to exist? Well, the old Palace of Westminster was left massively damaged and in many places outright destroyed by a fire in October of 1834. British architect Sir Charles Barry would be commissioned to design a new Palace of Westminster. He would design a neo-Gothic palace, turning to fellow architect Augustus Welby Northmore Pugin to design a clock tower to accompany it due to his past experience in designing clock towers in this style. The clock tower would be Pugin's final design before suffering a total breakdown and being unable to recognise anybody he knew or coherently communicate, which began a chain reaction of illness that led to his death in September of 1852. Construction of the tower will begin in September of 1843, headed by contractors Thomas Grissel and Sir Samuel Morton Peto. The sister to Peto's daughter-in-law, Emily, will be given the honour of laying the first stone according to an inscription on a trowel in the Parliamentary Archives. The tower will be constructed with sand-coloured Anniston limestone clad bricks that have been hauled from South Yorkshire, the second best county in the north, and its roof tiles were made of cast iron. The clock tower will remain under construction until May 1859. Upon its completion, it stood on a 40 by 40 foot square base at 316 feet or 96 metres tall. It was the third tallest clock tower in the United Kingdom at the time, and its 4 clock dial faces dominated the view at a whopping 180 feet off the ground. Inside the clock tower, it took 290 spiralled stone steps to reach the clock room, with a further 44 would be required to make it up to the belfry, and then another 59 before you'd get to the very top of the spire. The tower also featured a ventilation shaft running from ground level of the structure up to the belfry. Designed by David Boswell Reid, its purpose was to provide cool, fresh air to the Palace of Westminster. However, this did not function properly and was instead repurposed into a chimney to expel smoke. At this time, the tower was simply known as the Clock Tower. The clock itself was designed by Sir Edward Beckett Denison, and installation was to be carried out by clockmaker Edward Dent, though he would pass away before it could be completed, and his son, Frederick, would take over and finalise the project. It's quite fascinating how it works, but to put it in layman's terms, it's known for its reliability with regards to accurately telling the time down to the second, and needs to be wound 3 times per week, and it takes over an hour to wind each time. Now we get to the actual part of the tower that is technically the real Big Ben, because if this isn't Big Ben, then what is? Well, this is not Big Ben, neither is this. I don't even know what this is even doing in this little list. Big Ben is the bell inside the tower. There are 5 bells, 4 smaller bells and 1 massive one, which weighs 13.76 tons. This significantly larger bell is the true Big Ben. Officially known as the Great Bell, the first casting actually failed. The second casting will be constructed by George Mears under the Whitechapel Bell Foundry. It would have been pulled to the tower by a team of 16 horses. This second casting would develop a crack, leaving it out of commission until its repair in 1862. The bell is believed to be informally named Big Ben after Sir Benjamin Hall, a civil engineer who served as the first commissioner of works at the time of later stages of the rebuilding of the Houses of Parliament. If this was the case, the big aspect was likely a nod to his tall stature. Unlike me, then it would have been a nod to the wide stature. Wide Jones coming at you. Another theory as to the origins of the name Big Ben is that it is a nod to the English heavyweight mid-19th century bare-knuckle boxing champion Benjamin Cant. The Great Bell strikes at the top of every hour, with quarter bells sounding every 15 minutes. During the reign of Queen Victoria, journalists referred to the tower as St Stephen's Tower, due to the members of Parliament originally sitting in St Stephen's Hall, though this was likely an informal name, as journalists of the time were referred to any news from the Houses of Commons as news from St Stephen's. The tower's official name would simply remain the Clock Tower until 2012, when the Houses of Commons voted in favour of renaming it to Elizabeth Tower in commemoration of Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee. The name would be confirmed on the 26th of June 2012, and this was then formally announced by Prime Minister David Cameron on the 12th of September that year. Another cool piece of trivia is the fact that the tower houses an oak-panelled prison room that can only be accessed from within the Houses of Commons and cannot be entered from the tower's own entrance. It would see use, however it was last used in 1880. Today the room is occupied by the Petitions Committee, though if needs must, it could still legally and technically be used for its original purpose. Today the Elizabeth Tower may seem to stand upright, however you would be amazed to know that due to the soft clay ground beneath the layer of gravel atop which the clock tower's foundations sit, it actually leans northwest at a tilt of 0.26 degrees, meaning at its highest point the tower is a half metre out of alignment. That's only 1/16 of the lean on the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Sorry, I'm just a bit hungry. Though its lean is increasing, it will likely collapse between 5,000 and 10,000 years from now, if another problem doesn't see it crumble first. Over the years, Big Ben is known as it has become a cultural symbol for the United Kingdom, and often represented in the media as a generic picture of this country. Since its construction, the United Kingdom has seen 6 monarchs and 41 prime ministers. Who knows how many more it will see in this time. So, that was today's video. If you liked it, like it, share and subscribe, and make sure you slap that notification bell with all your force. If you have a friend who would like to watch our content, but may not necessarily have the time to do so at the moment, the solution is very simple. Simply tie them up inside Big Ben, and put their head between the striking arm and Big Ben itself. If they haven't watched most of our content in the hour it takes for it to strike, then bonk. That'll be all. I've been Connor Jones. Well, I still am Connor Jones. I'm Connor Jones. Thank you very much. Ta-ra.